Footy's back. It's so back, it's done. This is Footy Unfilterated. I'm your host, James Clements. A pretty stoked, rising star nommed, just no All-Australian nodded, but we're in a wild card, James Clements, wearing the Blues hat. And with me on the other side of this screen is everyone's favourite Essendon fan. It's very, very thin on the ground in terms of that. I do like how we're kind of roughly wearing matching hats. Yours with the Bombers logo, mine with the throwback Blues. It's Jez. Jez, what's cracking?
Oh, I'm just obviously in the silent majority that are pretty happy with the new appointment of the Essendon coach, Jim. Yeah, good. And despite me dreading for the week that we were going to waste away the opportunity to have pick one, we didn't. Pick one, baby. No James Hird. I don't have to go to Tassie.
So close. So close. You still almost won that. You almost... Are we still spilling a board? I need to know. But anyway, the home and away season is now done. It's finished. It's finito. We're all Dunskies. Round 24 was done the other day. We're recording midweek this week. Basically, so we get the All-Australian team, schedule problems and all this sort of stuff. We got the All-Australian team. There's lots to cover. We're going to wrap up round 24 very quickly. A lot of dead rubbers, a lot of non-interesting games. We'll do some weekly awards for that very quickly. But then we'll look at our most surprising / disappointing teams from this season. And we'll look back at our pre-season over-under predictions and see what we nailed and what we were furthest from. Either way. I'll tell you what, there's a couple of shockers in there. But anyway. And then at the end, we'll do a wildcard preview and picks. Wildcard, baby! Woo! It's going to be good. So, I think we should just do it. It's footy without the bull. It's Footy Unfilterated.
I can't wait with all these dust and cobwebs choking me.
Oh, righto, Jez. What a week of footy it was. The home and away season is done. The top 10 was locked away. And there was a couple of, odd results in there over the weekend. Namely, the Blues beating Freo. Me and the Squid being there. It was pretty awesome. It was electric. I'll tell you what. I don't know if there's like a couple of big standouts over the last few years of big Blues moments. Blakers kicking the goal that put us past Melbourne in the semi-final in 22, I want to say, 23, whatever that year was.
Go with that.
And then Ollie Hollands running down the flog, Patrick Voss. That was remarkable. The place, I don't know if you've ever heard 42,000 people under a roof go absolutely ballistic. As an Essendon fan, probably not, but this is just insane. It was absolutely off its head. So that was pretty fun.
I'm shocked and appalled at that drive-by, Jim.
Shots fired.
I was there in 2000 and whatever when James Hird hugged the spectator.
Nice.
It was pretty noisy then.
Can imagine.
So we weren't always this bad.
It just feels like it, doesn't it? So the wild card matchups this week, you've got Dogs Pies Friday, Demons Blues on Saturday, which is pretty remarkable after the Blues were 1-8, 16th on the ladder, and now they're in the wild card. Of course, the universe has conspired to go against your mate Jim by scheduling that Melbourne Carlton game at the exact same time I'm meant to be at a gig in Ballarat on Saturday night. So.
I'm not sure what they were thinking. Clearly, they didn't take that into account when they were scheduling the games. It's interesting with the scheduling. We had a friendly debate on the way home. I obviously went to the footy on Saturday as well. Friendly debate on the way home about which game was bigger, Melbourne and Carlton or Collingwood and Western Bulldogs. Now, our theory was the bigger game will be played on Friday night, and I was 100% adamant it would be the Collingwood game. And Melbourne supporters, so, you've got to cut them some slack. They were, no, Melbourne Carlton's much bigger. It'll draw a bigger crowd. I went, maybe, but the TV dollars are where the Collingwood game is.
Yeah.
So, I'm not surprised. I think a few were surprised to see that, but I'm not surprised. You're always going to put Collingwood on Friday night, unless they're playing the likes of GWS or even Freo now. You'd probably chuck them on. But, yeah even over Melbourne Carlton. So,
nice.
Interesting.
Oh, well
done, Jim.
I'll figure it out, won't I? They'll be like, who's that guy at the top of Her Majesty's Theatre watching the footy on his phone during a gig? Anyway, other news. There's plenty of it this week. Essendon, you have a new coach, Jez. How are you feeling about Bomber Mark McVeigh?
Well, I've put aside my plans to spill the board if James Hird was appointed, but obviously there was the opposite faction that's decided it's time to spill the board. I've seen some absolute crackers of comments, posts by people who I can only describe as having very, very low intelligence about how this is going to set Essendon back another 20 years, how we need to have coaches who have won flags and we need to have this and that and the other. And I just, it almost gives you a headache. It's that just trying to get your head around that people are actually this stupid, Jim. We don't need people that win flags. We can't even win finals, Jim. We can't even win games. So what we actually need is someone who has won finals for Essendon. And guess what? I'm pretty sure Mark McVeigh played in our last winning final. So let's roll with that. I am actually really happy with this appointment. When it got down to the 4, he was my number 1 pick. I've obviously been pretty open about not wanting it to be James Hird. I think that's a past that we don't need to revisit. And the other 2 fellas sort of came out of nowhere, Jamie Graham and Murray Davis. So I was a little bit on them. But Mark McVeigh seems to have, I think he interviewed for the position along with Brad Scott maybe. And he's interviewed for a few other positions and always seems to be that sort of almost the Damien Hardwick moment where they went with Matthew Knights instead of him. He's hoping that we've got the footy gods back on our side, hopefully, Jim, and things are heading in the right direction. We didn't stuff ourselves up by winning and costing ourselves pick 1. So it's, we'll see what happens.
Called doing a north. You avoided that quite spectacularly. I do like, so I believe missing out on Harley Reid for North by, the Roos going out and winning a meaningless game to completely spite themselves was one of the all-time great boners in AFL history, right? So, I mean, the fact that you avoided that to start with, I think is a very good step in the right direction, Jez. Like, I think that might be, like, when you have the championship premiership DVD, which I assume they still make, that might be the first thing they show. At the end of 2026, the Essendon Bombers managed to avoid winning against Port Adelaide and secured the rights to the number 1 pick. And from then, their ascendance was assured. Like that, you can see it happening, right?
Yeah,
that's what it's all about.
The America's Game style doco about the 2037 Essendon Premiership.
Love it.
Or sorry, the 2028 breaking of the finals duck.
Yep.
So, I think he's the right choice at this point in time. He's saying all the right stuff, Jim. He's saying he wants Hird there, which, for the record, I don't think is a bad idea, getting him on board in some capacity.
Yep.
I just didn't think it was going to be the right call as coach. He's been outspoken about wanting to keep Zach Merritt, which I'm a Zach Merritt fan, so I'm happy with that. But I'm also, happy if it doesn't eventuate. And look, if he can get us across the line with our first finals win since 2005, I'll tattoo the number of days that we went on my body somewhere with his name next to it. So
nice.
You heard that here, but
that is a Footy Unfilterated guarantee. All right.
There'll be a tattoo if he can do it, but only if he's the coach when it happens. So I've got to make that very clear. So I'm behind him, Jim.
All right.
Let's do it. We've got our man.
If you get it tattooed on one of your butt cheeks, he'll also be behind you. So there you go. Right. Other news, Zak Butters done at Port.
I'm not sure that's appropriate enough to be a dad joke, but let's roll with it.
It's close. Zak Butters is done in Port Adelaide. He's off home. Ben King done at Gold Coast and obviously pretty clearly going to Hawthorn. The interesting one was Jesse Hogan, Jake Stringer, Toby Green. Well, at least Hogan and Stringer definitely done. Toby Green's kind of like, well, I don't know. But everyone's like, he's going to Geelong. And you're like, that's kind of neat. Cool, good. A lot of delistings. Swikowski has announced that he's retiring because he's having a kid, which I thought was weird. He's like, I can't wait to join
we could do that, Jim.
Just imagine. I can't wait. I just want to start a new chapter and join the workforce. Like, what the hell are you on about? You're an AFL footballer.
Can I just say, Jim, that as a member of said workforce for more than half of my life now, it's not that good.
Yeah, the grass is not greener.
So if
what are you doing?
Let me just put it to you in another way, is if I had been able to retire when I had a kid, I would have retired at 19.
There you go. Oh, well, here we are.
Wow.
I like that. It's like
life could be a dream.
Shaboom, shaboom. Other news, we got the All-Australian squad and the team announced. I don't know. Do you want to go through the squad? I can quickly rattle it off. I've got it here. There were 3 teams that weren't represented. Yours included there. The Crom had Jordan Dawson, Wayne Miller, Isaac Rankin, who somehow did not make the final team. The Lions go the Bears. Harris Andrews, Wilbert Ashcroft, Zach Bailey, Ring-a-ding-ding, Charlie Cameron, Logan Morris, weapon. Thank you for making your mate Jim a bit of walking around money on the weekend. Lockie Neal, who's former, current, I don't know, estranged? Sure. Huaf came out and probably should have come on Footy Unfilterated from all the unfilterated goss she was spilling about her former partner and one of their mates.
There's no BS there, Jim.
Jeez.
No BS at all.
That's certainly just not footy. It's in fact not footy at all. But anyway, good job, Lockie Neal. He'll be a pie soon. Carlton had Patrick Cripps on the squad, didn't make the team. Love it. Put a chip on his shoulder. Light a fire under him. Thank you. The Pies had both the Dakai in the squad. Freo had Jai Miss, Shea Bolton, Jordan Clark, Luke Jackson, Alex Pearce, Murphy Reid, Caleb Sarong, and Josh Tracy. That's 8, if I can count correctly. Ridiculous. Ollie Dempsey, Max Holmes, Connor O'Sullivan, which I was a bit, interesting. Bailey Smith for the Cats. Also at Gold Coast having Ben King and Bodie Uland. You're like, what? All right, sure.
Really?
GWS, Lockie Ash, Clary Oliver. The Hawks had Gunston, Impey, Jai Newcomb, Sicily. He hates Tassie, he's Sicily. And the Wizard. Melbourne, you had Max Gawn and Cozzy. Even the Roos had LDU. Port, Alir, which is one of those ones you're trying to figure out who are the 3 people on this list that replaced the Swans players who were obviously kicked out. You're like, I can spot a couple of them. I've got a couple of thoughts. And Bodie Uland, I'm looking at you. Connor O'Sullivan, I'm looking at you. Alir, it might be you as well. Zak Butters, Mitch Georgiades, and JHF, the Hornet for the Power. Wangani Miller, good old Naz, and Cal Wilkie for the Saints. Charlie for the Swans, along with Brodie Grundy and his big old man bun ponytail. And the Dogs had the Bont and Ed Richards. So, no Sheasel, which was weird. I thought Sheasel was awesome all year. Max Hall was really good all year. Doesn't make it. We don't have anybody from Essendon, Richmond, or West Coast, which kind of tracks. Taranto, maybe. Zeret, maybe. But
I think he missed. I think Taranto missed a little bit of footy. Zeret was well below his best for most of the season. The other one that I think was a bit stiff to miss out, considering some of the names that are on there, it was Sam Walsh.
Yeah.
I thought, considering how much of a part he played in Carlton's, path to the 26 premiership, he's a little bit stiff there. So, anyway, here we are.
I'm not going to address that. The team, your backmen, Miller, Wilkie, and Impey. Impey actually making it. You're like, geez, all right. Halfback, you had Lockie Ash, love it. Harris Andrews and Jordan Clark. Jordan Clark, fine, but sure. Your centreman, Basilenka, the Bont, and Ollie Dempsey. Love that Ollie Dempsey got the nod. Half forwards, you had Shea Bolton, Josh Tracy, and Cozzy. Your full forwards, you had the Wizard, Charlie, and Logan Morris, which I love. God, he's good. Max Gawn made his record. How many was it? is it 9?
9.
That's just ridiculous, isn't it? Absolutely ridiculous. So that's pretty bloody good. Bont got his 8th as well, which I think joins both the Gablets, Danger, Buddy, Robert Harvey and Rashudo behind Gawn. That's just insane, isn't it?
Good effort.
So Gornicus, Jordan Dawson, who also gave a very, very, very good speech.
That he did.
And Nick Dacos, obviously. The interchange. Luke Jackson gets the nod ahead of Grundy, Naz, Murphy Reid.
I don't mind that.
Murphy Reid is the head scratcher, I reckon. Zak Bailey, Shaw, and Zak Butters. A lot of Zaks. It's too many Zaks. I think there should only be one Zak in the All-Australian team.
I think those two names there before Butters, Bailey and Murphy Reid, they're the two, not that they didn't have great seasons, but when you look at a couple of players that missed out, Sheasels was the obvious one, who didn't even make the squad.
Cripps.
And then obviously the one that there's been a fair bit of talk about today, the older Ashcroft. I would say I'd be comfortable with saying all three of those had better seasons than both Murphy Reid and Zak Bailey.
Yeah, Bailey was very hit and miss. Murphy Reid was solid, but there's like a sort of level of hype around his game where if you look at the actual stats, the counting stats are fine, but there's like an impact sort of stats, like your inside 50s, you contest, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, not that crash hot. And you're just like, dude, Cripps did nothing but be awesome. He was like in the ruck for the back half of the season as well. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Anyway.
100%. I think they're the two snubs, Jim. They're the snubs.
I love a good snub. There is nothing that gets
good old snub
more excited than a good snub. But as I said, that's great. I hope that lights a fire under Cripps and he absolutely tears the Demons' head off on the weekend. The good news, though, for the Blues was that Jagger won the Rising Star Award. Almost went perfect with 54 out of 55. Won it ahead of his teammate Harry Dean, which I was very excited by, and Willem Deusma. So it's pretty good. I'll take that.
That's pretty accurate.
Yeah. Who?
I
Cooper
couldn't say,
Trimbar.
I think we sort of knew from day dot that he was going to be hard to beat, Jagger.
Yeah.
So I think there's a few that sort of floated in and out. I know Sullivan Roby from the Bombers was looking good, then injured, and then a few others in West, probably the teams where they're not winning as much. You sort of saw a bit more. Dyson Sharp was another one that comes to mind. Even a couple of the other West Coast boys could have pushed had they played enough footy and been in enough games. But yeah, I think that's pretty accurate, Jim, and very hard to argue.
Yeah. It was weird that the only person who didn't give Jagger Smith the 5 was Laura Kane, and she gave the 5 to Harry D. So, sure. Odd. Anyway.
Got a thing for redheads, Jim?
Yeah, maybe. And I guess last little bit of news. I'm not welcome at AFL House, I reckon, for many reasons. Many reasons. I did walk past Andrew Dillon on the footbridge one time, and I'm like, you are shorter than I expected. And again...
Yeah, get a haircut, you bum.
Your hair is just, even in person...
Get a haircut and get a real job.
I guess the big other story is... there's, I guess, the Richmond non-story, I believe. There's quick, nah. Can we have a respectful Mad Monday and just let them do their thing without it becoming a thing, Jez? Nah.
I've got some... whoever was recording needs a kick in the nuts. Even if it was a female, they need a kick in that area. That is the lowest form of rubbery, to be sitting outside of a venue where they've tried to do the right thing, whether you agree with it or not. They've tried to be respectful of everyone else. I saw a report that they actually asked for no female staff to be on that day, which you can say that's the thing. But the fact of the matter is they're young boys, especially Richmond. They're, in their early mid-20s. They were smart enough and, let's say, wise enough even to go, hey, we're probably going to get a little bit loose. Let's make sure we don't offend anyone. They've got good reports from the Garfield Hotel, which I thought was awesome that they come out and supported them. Who's to say what they were actually doing had anything to do with the Sydney thing?
That's
because no one was in there. All they're doing is making assumptions based on a long-range camera from some grub who hasn't got anything better to do, like maybe going and finding an actual story. I hate this, Jim. I just it shits me up the wall. We have so much of this type of stuff in footy media and so-called journalism, that it actually takes away from the game and the good parts of the game. And you get all these things wasted on absolute nonsense like this when you've still got debate going on about, and incorrect debate, is in my opinion, about how whether this Sydney thing is all blown out of proportion. It's clearly not. There's an assault of some sort happened, or some sort of wrongdoing, and we're trivialising it by trying to throw shade over a bunch of boys who have actually decided to try and do the right thing and be respectful. It's just ridiculous, Jim, and it really does. These journos need to be called out, and just, I mean, the problem is they're the ones who have to call them out, so they're never going to do that, are they? So,
yeah, I think...
I don't know. I'm mad, Jim. I'm mad.
I can tell. As soon as this story broke, so the Tigers have their Mad Monday celebrations. They book out an entire pub for the day, basically so they can do, like, basically have the place to themselves, so they can essentially take any risk out of anything else, just make sure that they're not bothering anybody else. They're in the country. They're basically out of the spotlight almost as much as you possibly can be. And there is, like, the drawing of the bow to be like, oh, they were making light of the Sydney saga and allegations, like, based on exactly what evidence are we saying? Oh, there was, like, a pantsing. Whomst amongst us has not pantsed a mate, A. B, I mean, it's mates boozing in private and not hurting or doing anything else. And so, there's a culture problem. Is there? I think the culture of them understanding and recognizing that, yeah, we're not going to invite any female staffers for the simple fact that we don't want anything to be read into anything. And then people are now going, well, that means their culture's screwed anyway, because if you can't have the female staffers there, how can it be respectful? It's like, you can't win. You cannot win at this point.
I think that shows that there's, especially with such a young group, that there's actually good culture there, because they know they're going to probably, and obviously, Jim, we like a beer.
No.
As you can tell, we're both wearing footy/beer merch. And we've both probably had more than we should have on various occasions, and probably said some things we probably regret. We've probably done some things we probably regret. Hindsight is a wonderful thing. These boys, whether it was their whether they initiated themselves or they had guidance, whatever, the fact is that they've done the right thing and tried to minimise any, as you said, anything affecting anyone else. To me, that says that there's a good culture and a culture of thinking about others before you act.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether they went about it the right way, whatever, that's irrelevant, because at the end of the day, they've tried to do the right thing by thinking of other people that are not themselves in setting up their celebrations, and I think that's fantastic. And I think there's a story that I remember hearing a story about the old Mad Monday sort of thing when they first started going indoors. Inside and locking out the public, was that and I think it was Geelong that started it, and Collingwood even in the sort of early 2010s, where they would invite certain members of the media that they respected in for a beer or two for, let's say, an hour or two, and say, righto, we'll give you a bit of this, bit of that. Geelong, obviously, with their Mad Monday dress ups, they give the media a bit of time so that and then they go, righto, that's enough. And now it's for us. And I think that obviously, shows a bit of respect between, and that takes a certain type of journalist to be able to have that respect from the footy players. All that this grub with the camera's going to do is just ruin that, aren't they? Like, we're not going to get any actual genuine stories that we want to hear about. Now we're going to get force-fed this crap that they're trying to peddle about them, as you said, drawing the longest of bows from one thing to another. It drives me away from wanting to read about listen to anything to do with the news side of things because you just don't know what you're going to get unless you come to Footy Unfilterated. You don't know that what you're going to get is actually what's happening or accurate, or you're just getting force-fed some sort of propaganda to make, whichever organisation it is, and they don't miss on dropping in their name and their organisation with every second sentence of their stories. So maybe we need to be dropping in Footy Unfilterated, Spotify, YouTube, every third word, Jim, so that we can, start to look like actual journalists. I
like
suppose.
that. Bump up the SEO.
I'm rambling a bit, but it really does annoy me because, like you, we've both grown up with footy, and I used to watch all the shows. I used to listen to the radio, and if podcasts were around when I was in my 20s, I probably would have listened to every footy podcast going around. Now I hate listening to most of the commentary because of the garbage that they spill and, just the over-analysis and the doomsdayers of, he's not going to be able to do that if he can't learn how to kick on a 45-degree angle over the back of his head and through a gate. It's like, shut up and just enjoy the game for what it is, you morons.
Yep. Well said. I think, look.
Hold on. Woosa.
I mean, if there was any tangible proof that they were making light of supposed sexual assault, I mean, yeah, that's bad. But, I mean, at the same time, this is footage shot over the top of a fence from a long way away with no context. And, come on, man, what are we doing here? Anyway, speaking of which...
private gathering.
Yeah. The rest of the Sydney fallout as well. I mean, the 5 players obviously suspended the rest of the season. Still eligible for the Brownlow. Not that it'll matter because Dacos has got it. They were banned from attending the Brownlow. They were obviously not a part of the All-Australian squad. And it's been an interesting sort of, week and a half as the way the story has sort of shifted is to, now it's gone into lawyer speak and what actually is being charged, what's being alleged. And it's it's hitting that sort of formal, police investigation, lawyer statements part of the saga where you're just all right, cool. Just look, I don't need to know what happened. I just want to know if the investigation is going to get to the bottom of it, what's going to happen, what are the ramifications, how do we make sure that this sort of stuff just doesn't happen? And boom, done. Because, Sydney did go out and win on the weekend. That was kind of nice. What I 100% expected was we're all coming together, talking to the fans article, almost on cue. I'm like, aha, there it is. And read it, and I'm like, I could almost write this article myself without going to the game and talking to people. I could write this article right now and make up the quotes, and it would be Jim GPT. It'd be just I could make it up, and it'd be 98% bang on, and that's exactly what happened. So good on the Swans.
Unfilterated GPT.
The Swan supporters. Good on them for supporting the team, but especially for the AFLW team. I thought that was very important, and that was a really good point that they got a massive crowd. That's the biggest crowd they've ever had. It's double the biggest crowd they've ever had. It was a double header. They were maybe thinking about there might be a mass exit before the men's game. There was a bit of an exit, but not mass exit. So it was good to see them support the W team. Love that. But otherwise, it was just a woof. After a week of everything, you're just oh, yes, here's the actual footy. And you have the, this is the supporters. Oh, it's yes, of course they're there to support the club, to support the W. That's good. But at the same time, there probably should be much more of a sort of basis on how does this all happen within this club. Article that I haven't read yet.
That's the biggest thing. I've seen a few posts from Sydney Swan supporters that have popped up on my socials, and one of them that sort of hit me, and I thought this is fantastic from a Swans supporter, was that they said, and it seemed very genuine. It was come on, Swans, this is, what's happened is so bad. Football club, as a football club and supporters, we need to be better and show that we're better than this. And absolutely 100% admonish these men for what they've done and not accept it and show the way. And I thought it's really poignant coming from a Swans supporter, and it seemed to echo from the fans. The one thing, all I care about with this now is I'm okay, great, these players are out, whatever's happening with the trade stuff, I couldn't care less about. All I want, like you, to make sure that things are put in place that it never happens again, and that the welfare of the victim or victims, because we obviously don't know what's happened, is priority for everyone going forward, regardless of your opinion on what went on. The fact of the matter is that there's people, and it may end up being all of the people that were there are victims of this. Whatever it is, the welfare of everyone involved is the priority. Obviously, any victims first and foremost, and that's all I care about now. The Sydney thing for me, I'm over it. I don't want to hear about it unless it's to tell me that the investigation is complete and that punishments are going to be handed out, and that said victims or alleged victims their welfare is okay and they're moving on with their lives. That's what I want to know. Other than that, I couldn't care less.
There is still conjecture as to, whether or not those 5 players come back to the Swans at any point, how that actually happens. And to be honest, we'll deal with that as it comes. Otherwise, a couple of reports from the weekend. Harley Reid, bam, bam. He might miss a game or two to start next year. What else? I think there was one other one. None of them actually impacted this week, so that's good. Unfortunately, a couple of injuries did. Pendles.
Yeah.
Could Pendles, who last week broke the record for most games played in the AFL. Remarkable. He also pinged a hammy, and he might be done at Collingwood with other teams going, we'll take... A, did you know he used to play basketball? And B, he's pretty old. This is pretty fascinating for you.
I'm pretty sure the Gold Coast Blaze have thrown their hat in the ring to have him as an 11th, 12th man on the roster and playing coach.
Get the new NBL franchise.
How long's it been since they've existed?
Well, I mean, they're trying to get another couple of franchises in, but I think Larry's too busy wrestling with all the other NBL owners to be able to launch the second Sydney and the Gold Coast other teams. But anyway, Brendan Cox also hurt his hammy against the Blues. That was a bit of a tough one for the Dockers. And Aaron Norton looked like he really hurt his ankle. It's like an ankle ligament injury, they're calling it. Obviously brutal timing with the Dogs desperately needing him for this week. And he's still a question mark. So fingers crossed, I guess, if you're a Dogs fan. That's a wild one.
Yeah, I think there was another one out of that game as well. Jefferson for the Demons. Right. He went down late in the game, and think it might have been his ankle. And yeah, he'd had a shocker. He wasn't great, but just as he started to clunk a few, he did the knee. Disco Turner went down early, but was sort of back on the ground within 10 minutes. So they seem to have dodged a bullet there, Jim.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think just like the sheer amount of, question marks floating around for the D's is a bit of a weird one with the injuries as well, right? To the point where you're like, I don't know, man, can Stephen May come back right now? Like, they might.
I don't think that'll ever happen.
So Lever, yeah, that's a bit of a weird one. You've got Van Rooyen already out suspended, Myercheck, Jefferson, the knee knock. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one.
I think I heard that they're also considering Melksham and Jack Viney for selection this week, which is I don't think he's played all year, Jack Viney. So that's an interesting one.
And the last one was Sam Banks had an irregular heartbeat, but he's okay. So it's good, I guess. Right. Very quickly, what happened last round? Well, Thursday, we had a St Kilda Gold Coast game that didn't matter, 103-80, whatever. The Lions smashed the Pies, 159-96, because my beloved Logan Morris went and kicked 8. And I think I said on this here program, we're laddering Logan Morris to kick a bag, and he did exactly that. And I did too. So thank you, Logan Morris. The Blues, the Squid and I are at this one, 119-82, one of the great Carlton wins we've seen. And I don't know, Freo basically had it on cruise control the entire game, but at the very start of the game when they were 4 goals straight and we had 1 point, I'm like, this could be a very early afternoon for your mate Jim and the Squid. And they then turned it around. I think the really cool thing for the Blues was it was simply they played the game on their terms again against a really good team. So really, really important way to sort of go into a final series, I guess. Like you want to sort of come in, and that's what I was sort of thinking. I'm like, you don't really care about this game too much. But I'm like, but I'd rather win and take a bit of momentum into like the wild card, and that's what happened. So good on them. The Dogs handled the D's 108-87 at the MCG.
Oh, yeah,
the Demons just looked.
I was at this one.
They looked all out of sorts. It was
Yep.
It was a weird one. What do you reckon, Jez?
It was, as I said, I went to this game with some friends, and this, I couldn't help but feel that the Dogs look like the Dogs of the first few rounds before their injury struck. They started, their ball movement was electric. Ed Richards was everywhere. The thing that struck me as well, they obviously had Libba out, and Bont didn't have a big impact early when the game was on the line, and the Dogs just got away from them. And Melbourne were just hanging on. They couldn't quite get over the hump. Whenever they would sort of string a couple together, the Dogs would always find a way to get one. The D's look like they kind of weren't ready for how the Dogs come out, and they really struggled to adjust. Having that, I think, as I said, I went with a few Melbourne supporters. The big talking point between them was Van Rooyen not being there, and putting that extra pressure onto Harrison Petty, who, by the way, was pretty good. If he could kick straight, he probably would have been up there with Logan Morris for a bag. But he was marking it. He was Wayne Carey-like with his marking. I think he had 8 contested marks.
Jeez.
And just it was out of. He was marking over 2, 3, 4 players like it was the 80s and 90s all over again, Jim. It was quite impressive. So, and Max Gorn was the same. He was quite good. I think he had 59 hit-outs. But yet still the Dogs were the better side. The hit-outs didn't have an impact as you would think, not as much as you would think. So, yeah, it was really odd game. I can't help but think that 59. Maybe Melbourne might have gone,
59 is
we're playing in Melbourne. Let's have an extra week of footy so we don't get stale. I don't know, but they didn't look right.
Yep. That did relegate them, obviously, into the 7th spot as Geelong smashed Richmond 133-76. Jezza Cameron came back, was sort of running around half back, not doing a giant amount, but Shannon Neal, I called this on last week's show as well. Go bang, bang, bang. He went massive. That was awesome. And, GMHBA down at Taxpayer Stadium, they smashed him. The Crom absolutely predictably smashed the Giants, 157-101. Tex booted 6 in his farewell, maybe to Adelaide Oval, depending on if he gets picked in the finals. Who knows? As I keep pointing out about Tex Walker, 100% a better footballer than Bloke. Like one of the all-time great examples. Like he, Wayne Carey, I love it when they're, you know what? As great as a footballer as he is, he's an even better bloke. Nah, not at all chance of this with Tex. But look at his kids and his family. I'm like, I do not care. That dude sucks. Good job by Adelaide, though, to get it done. Isaac Rankin was off his head. Essendon came very close to beating Port, 105-95. When Zerrett kicked that goal at the end, Jez, I'm like, this is the funniest way for Zerrett to go out. Submarining their chances at the number 1 pick, piecing out, and like the Essendon faithful lapping it up for no reason. It was the funniest. And then the Power kicked the next 2 goals and managed to hold on to win the game, 105-95.
I was following this. I had my youngest son Zach's grand final on at the same time, so I was following this along, and that was a very close game. Unfortunately, the boys didn't get over the line, but I'm watching this and I'm like, ooh. Caddy's kicking goals. I'm like, oh no, we're in front. And then I saw us get to the lead. I'm like, oh no, we're gonna. And then Zach's game sort of come to the end, and it was a bit there. Then I checked the score and went, at least we didn't win that game. I was quite relieved. I didn't even bother watching. I planned to watch a replay, but I didn't even bother. I just went, thank God it's over, Jim.
It's
over.
It was amazing because obviously it was a packed Marvel for that final game, and the carry
helps
on
when they're giving away the tickets.
Yeah, the carry on for Zerrett kicking that goal though, like nothing has been funnier, I think, this year than that, as Essendon are trying desperately to North Melbourne themselves. And you never want to go full North Melbourne. Speaking of which, North Melbourne 70, Sydney 123. Just a disappointing end to the Roos season. But,
yeah,
at least it feels like it's pointing in the right direction. So that's good. And Sydney, as I said earlier, I mean, all the stories written about them this week, they actually come out, they win a game. And you got Callum Mills and Dean Cox in tears basically after the game. So, yeah, I mean, good on them for fighting through the adversity, I guess. But, geez, don't give yourselves the adversity.
Less about you fellas and, a little bit less about you, I think it is. But anyway.
Yep. And then finally.
I was in tears too, Jim, but I was chopping onions. So
nice. And then we finished off the home and away season with a bird bowl. And this came, so the Squid and I were watching Bounce because this was out west. So a late game on the Sunday, which I very much like having Bounce then go into the final game. And you're like, this is how Sundays, Sunday night footy's great. I love it. I cannot get enough of it.
I actually do as well.
NFL fan over here, you might have heard. And when living in the States, that capper to your weekend of having Sunday night football be the thing is, obviously, Sunday night football is the biggest game of the weekend for the NFL. And they build up to it, they build up to it. It's NBC. It's a whole big, just massive production. It's awesome. It's really, really fun. You can't tell me that we don't have 24 games throughout a home and away season in the AFL. Oh, but what about the crowds? It's a school night. I don't care if it's a school night. You know what's really easy to do? Start it a little bit earlier, or like around that sort of 7 o'clock, 6:30 mark, or whatever, and sort of just let it go. But also just schedule really good games, book it, and they will come. Very simple. But Jack Gunston in this game. So the Hawks obviously need to win by like 90 plus to jump up into third to overtake Brisbane. For a minute there, it looked like they were going to do it, and then the rain came and sort of put a bit of a dampener on it. But Jack Gunston, this was another one that I laddered throughout the week and felt very good about this. He had 4 within basically you blinked. I think I had him up to 5 and it took to the very end of the game for him to kick that 5th. So I was sweating on that a little bit, but he got there. It was amazing. The Wizard also had, I think, 3, I want to say 2 or 3. Has sort of found himself a little bit of form. But yeah, they smashed the Eagles. The problem was, I think there was like another little bit of hammy awareness, I think, for the Wizard, but with a couple of weeks off, he'll be all right. The biggest thing out of all of this, though, Jez, after the home and away season of us picking every single game against the line, I owe you a single beer. There was one pick difference the entire 105, 104. I thought I was on here, and the fact that Geelong did not cover the spread by about 4 or 5 points is the thing that sank me from actually taking the lead at the very death of the season. So, remarkable stuff. 133.76. I think the line was 60.5, and they fell, 4 points? 4 points. That's unbelievable.
Yep. I did take a very keen interest in that one.
So one beer.
Look, you're welcome for making it interesting and taking a few risks with my tips. I could have annihilated you there and had a slab to drink on your watch. But it's a bit of fun.
Yeah.
But I was actually thinking, what have I done here? I could have been like 15, at least a 10-pack going here, and I've sort of gone a little bit, got a bit complacent, Jim, and thought, I'll cover him by 4 or 5, and geez, it's going to be a really enjoyable pint.
It is. You can't rest on your laurels when it comes to tipping. I think I did. I'm pretty sure I did the exact same thing to Gaz last year in NFL Australia, like across the season. Ended up pipping him by
right. I've learnt my lesson, Jim. Next year, I'll be coming out with fury, venom.
All right. The final ladder, the Bombers finish at the bottom. Richmond. That was, Essendon, if they had have won, they would have jumped over Richmond and scuppered themselves out of pick number 1, which is very funny. But Essendon, Richmond, the Eagles, Port Adelaide in 15th, North in 14th, 13th, the Suns, the GWS Giants in 12, and St Kilda in 11. They are the teams that are, Mad Mondaying it up, probably still on this Wednesday, or at least should be. The top 10, we'll go the other way. The Fremantle Dockers don't have to travel back to Victoria, presumably, if they can win in that first week. Feeling pretty good about themselves. Just don't go out straight sets like the Crom did. Sydney in second, which is what made the battle of Brisbane smashing the Pies and then Hawthorn trying to smash the Eagles. Very interesting because obviously both of them were like, please, please, please give me that 2-3 matchup in the qualifying final. Brisbane get it in third. Hawthorn slipped to, stay in fourth. Stay in fourth.
Mm-hmm.
And
stay in fourth, yep.
We'll face Freo, which is a great matchup. A grand final rematch. You love to see that. Geelong in fifth. Not a bad one. Good win over Richmond. Adelaide in sixth with their big win over GWS. Relegating the Demons into 7. The Dogs jump into 8. The Pies are in 9th and the Blues finish 10th. For all the moaning and crying, imagine the race for the 8. The race for the 10 was still very good. We had permutations until the very end of round 24. So shut up. Yep. The round 10 thing was awesome. I enjoyed wildcard round. I like that we're two games this weekend, basically just to sort of drip feed a little bit of footy rather than having no footy. I like having some.
100%.
Two's good. I like this. And so, yeah.
And I think the other thing too is like the round 24, yes, it was a bit weird in that we had some games that didn't have a lot of defensive pressure. However, I think you found that there was obviously for a while there, Hawthorn were trying to run down Brisbane. The shootouts, like the scores, like what was the Brisbane Collingwood game was 249 points or something like that. So and the over under was only 180. So if you took the under,
what are you doing?
You obviously wanted James Hird as Essendon coach. It was, and the Gold Coast Saints game looked like it was going to be the same until they just forgot how to play footy after half time.
That was weird. It got gross.
And then you still have one that was kind of live in that Melbourne could have potentially pushed for a home final or for the week off, but the Dogs decided to turn back the clock 23 weeks, and I thought it was interesting is one way to put it. Was it bad? No, I actually enjoyed seeing some free-flowing end-to-end footy for a little bit. I'm glad it's not how the games play, but that Collingwood-Brisbane game was literally whoever won the ruck tap was kicking a goal for about a good half an hour there, and it was pretty entertaining.
It was. So. Thank you, Logan Morris, once again. Awards for the weekend. Gablet Area's best on ground of the week of the ground of the week. Isaac Rankin again. Unbelievable. 35, 4 goals, 12 clearances. He was absolutely everywhere. And the Crom looked like a completely different team when he's like flying around doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And so with them in 6th, they host the highest rank winner of the wildcards at home at Adelaide Oval, which would be a really, really fun game, kind of regardless of who makes it
Whoever
through, right?
They get.
Because, a Melbourne Crows game would be awesome. Dogs, Crows, who knows? Like, be really, really, really fun.
I think the only team it won't be is...
Probably Carlton. So, but yeah, Rankin, he was unbelievable again, and I still don't know how he can get an all-Australian nod. Who's your best on ground of the week of the ground of the week, Jez?
Of the ground of the week, I'm going to go with 2. First one, I'm just going to give it to him in what's most likely is the last game for my beloved Bombers in Zeret. Yes, he nearly cost us number 1 pick, but I think from what I saw and read, it was a bit of a throwback to the Zach Merritt that us Essendon fans have grown to know and love. So if it is his last game, thank you, and I've enjoyed watching you, and I hope that you do win a flag as long as you don't end up at Collingwood. Anywhere else, I would hope that you go close at least. So, and also can't really go past Logan Morris with 8 goals, even though the game was a bit of a shootout. 8 goals in this day and age is pretty good.
He's awesome.
And it's not like he was playing on a spud. He was playing on Billy Frampton, who has been really good. And probably he wasn't in the All-Australian team, was he? No. Probably a little bit stiff to not even get... Hang on.
To not make the squad.
To not even get nominated.
It was only
probably one of the more consistent backmen, especially considering all the rest of their defenders went down. So he shouldered a fair bit of the load. So, they're my 2 for this week.
Nice. Who are you buying a beer this week? Obviously, I'll just keep buying Josh Fraser beers. I've got to buy you a beer, obviously. But Josh Fraser, 1-8 when he takes over from Voss to make the wild card. I think someone pointed out, if you even take away the win that Voss coached, Fraser's record would have gotten them into the wins would have gotten them into the wild card anyway, which is pretty cool. But
yeah, because they ended up being 10 points clear of, so 2.5 games clear of 11th spot, which is
awesome.
Crazy.
Amazing. But obviously, Ollie Florent is the other one. He has been real good the last, month and a half or so, if you're watching the Blues on the reg. But watching him at that Carlton Freo game was just really, really, really fun and unexpectedly so. He's sort of taken over the Nick Newman sort of role, coming off half back, but he sneaks forward. He snags a goal here and there every so often, but the way he uses it is really smart. Like Ainsworth, it's funny watching Ollie Florent and Ainsworth sort of comparably. Like Ainsworth will happily burn somebody to try and snag a goal. Ollie Florent is just the consummate teammate. He is a gun. And I think the squid was like, but Dad, Charlie Curno's going to win the Coleman. I can't believe we traded him. I'm like, yeah, but I think this is the first year that Carlton has had 5 or 6 players kick over 20 goals in something like 20 years. So I think on balance between Hayward and Florent alone, let alone getting in Ainsworth as well, it's a bit of a big win to moneyball that.
And you look at Harry Mackay as well. He only ended up with probably wouldn't have been more than 30, and I think his best was 3 goals, whereas every other year he's had at least 1 or 2 bags of 5+. So, I think that's a step in the right direction for your beloved Blues, Jim.
But Florent's been great. Loved him. And Ollie Hollands, to stick with the Ollies, his chase down of the next one is going to be electric. So have you got any beers you want to give out?
Yeah, look, I'll buy a couple of beers. And again, it's a bit Essendon heavy, but obviously it's probably the last we're going to hear of him for the year, unless there is a board spill. I'll buy Dean Solomon one because it was probably the toughest job, aside from probably equal toughest at the time to Carlton. And then it obviously got pretty clear that it was a lot tougher. And I think all he demonstrated was that coaching's probably not for him. So I'll buy him a beer to say thanks, but no thanks. And back to your seat on the board or whatever operations or whatever it is you want to do for Essendon. But coaching's not for you, Dean. So you can have a beer. But the one I would like to buy a beer for is our new coach, the man who's going to take us to the promised land, is Mark McVeigh. So he's either going to need that beer to, get a spring in his step, or he may even be sitting there thinking, what have I done? What am I ready for this? Do I want to be the next Matthew Knights or Brad Scott or Ben Rutten? Who knows? But yeah, so I'll tell you what, they can have a straw each and share a pint.
I like it. Very nice. Very touching. Old mate, no mates. Patrick Voss. And this for me, this goes hand in hand with Spud of the Week, because it's hard to hate Freo. And then you go to their game and you're like, wow, do I hate Patrick Voss and Mason Cox? Like, so much. Like, it's just a lot now. Mason Cox trying to fight dudes who are like half his size and then backing down and flopping when someone like actually big comes and stands up for their mate is hilarious. But the Patrick Voss rundown by Ollie Hollands, and then it happening basically a second time as he can't get the ball away, and just sort of crash tackled over the line. Amazing. The prancing pony for like, they're getting their heads kicked in at some point in the game, and he's like flexing after he kicks a goal. It's like, you're down 5 goals. What are you doing? That's wild. So I think the spud probably goes to Mason Cox, because I think he had only 7 touches for the game and didn't kick a goal. He missed one right in front of us. The crowd was electric around that as well. They hated him. And you're like, I kind of get this more now. I already hated him a lot.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, yes, this all makes a bit more sense. Whereas the Patrick Voss, the old mate, no mates, like you can really see why Essendon went, yeah, we're actually all right. It sort of makes a little bit more sense now. So that's my old mate, no mates.
In the past probably 3 or 4 weeks, it's becoming more apparent what the gripes were with him. As good as he has been this year, when he hasn't been, it's been very tough. They do have a history of having good or bad or the villains.
Yep.
Don't they? I think they had, who was it? Hayden Ballantyne, who was a
yeah.
serial pest. And then you had Ryan Crowley, who was another quite annoying human being to play against your team. So my old mate, no mates, and spud of the week, it's an off-field one, Jim, and I've already ranted about it, so I'm not going to continue on, but the camera/journalist, if that's what you want to call yourself, you can have both of those and a kick in the nuts.
That's it.
That's it. I'm not going to say any more because I've already ranted for long enough about it.
Very nice.
My blood pressure's just come down, so let's move on.
Very nice. Old mate, no mates, you could also maybe go Lockie Neal after the exposition.
I think he's got a lot of mates.
Yeah. A few too many mates, possibly. There we go. Better than Bootsma. It's obviously Jagger. He was unbelievable again on the weekend. The goal that he kicked, basically sort of half around his body, that sort of ballooned up in the air a bunch, but landed over the line, was a really sort of big moment as well. Because like the Dockers were sort of always just there or thereabouts against the Blues. After the Blues took the lead, you never felt at all comfortable because the Dockers, even with stuck in second gear, they're still really, really, really good. And then Jagger kicked that goal, and he was just everywhere. It was awesome. So I really enjoyed that. The Harry Dean special is always really fun. But Jagger, what a year. Like, he's, for all my hopes heading into this season about how good he would be, and then the hype after that preseason game against the Cats down at Icon, it's like, ooh, need to temper these expectations. And then you're just like, oh my God, he's unbelievable. So lived up to the hype. He was awesome. So yeah, better than Bootsma for me. What about you, Jez?
My boy, Caddy, 6, Jim. He kicks 6. I knew it was coming. It nearly helped us cost a pick one, but he's doing and saying all the right things for a bloke who's signed a long-term deal. He's just excitement 101. Every time he goes near the ball, you don't know what's going to happen. And then the one game that I can't actually watch and would have probably enjoyed being at, he finally kicked 6. But I'm just happy. I've obviously following him on socials. He's saying all the right stuff, Jim. He's taken out of the Kevin Sheedy playbook and really promoting the club and how much he loves the place and wants to be there, which as a long-term supporter who's suffered a bit in the last, what are we at, 9,000 days or whatever we are, you love when one of your young guns comes out and he's talking the way he's talking. So,
yep,
he's my boy, Caddy. Love him.
Nice one. Right, nars. We had one earlier, but just wanted to look at, the season's done. Our biggest surprises, disappointments, our over-unders, how we went. Surprises for me, Jez, I've got 2. The first one's Melbourne. That also correlates with how far we were off heading into the season. They were amazing. And it's interesting because the second one is obviously Carlton, but only after May 12. Because that was such a genuine surprise, having watched that team so closely, having gone to, what did we go to, like 3 or 4 of the games up until that point. And the disenchantment of the fan base, but also of the team under Voss at that point was just remarkable. The turnaround is the biggest surprise. Like, watching that team who beat Brisbane, who beat Freo, who drew with the Dogs, it's night and day. Like, it's one of the biggest surprises you'll ever see.
They transformed overnight. It was remarkable that all the things that we were canning him for, like Cripps, we were talking about, was he injured? Was he done? Was he, was Walsh up to it? Was all these other things? And it was literally all the things that we were picking out that was wrong. As soon as Michael Voss grabbed his stuff and skedaddled, and Josh Fraser came in and just, vacuumed the joint out and, gave it another coat of paint, and it was a different team, a different club. Like, obviously, you sort of saw towards, as they sort of got more into it, what did they win, 9 or 10 in a row? Mm-hmm. You saw where the improvement needs to happen, but it was like they were different people. Like they'd put their clones back in the cupboard and actually ran out there themselves for a bit. That was actually that was close to one of the biggest surprises for me, for sure.
And I think that's the thing why Melbourne, it's the same sort of thing. Stephen King comes in, and this is like where Carlton missed a trick by keeping Voss for this year, whereas Melbourne bit the bullet, got rid of Goodwin, brought in Stephen King, had it from the start of the season, and were obviously very, very good, had that sort of spice to them from the very get-go. And like their comeback win in, what was it, round 4 or whatever it was against the Blues, was just like, this is for real. Like, oh my God, what is happening? And they sort of never really looked back from there. So it was pretty cool. But I think that's the sort of the secret sauce, right? It's like just understanding we need a new coach. We need a new voice. This team won't respond to this guy. We can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results. So off they went. Melbourne got a new coach. It all actually worked. Carlton, it took them until May 12. And then, as you said, it actually worked out all right. So they won, what was it, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I think it wasn't
7
9,
in a row,
7
and then they got belted by Hawthorn, but and then lost to the Pies after that. But yeah, still big surprise, big turnaround. Like just made it very fun to go to Carlton games again, which was a big surprise. How about you, Jez? Got any other different ones in there?
Yeah, not really. I think those two you mentioned, Melbourne and Carlton, are the two big surprises on the positive side of it. Melbourne, from the moment I think the first big upset win was the Gold Coast, who at the time were absolutely flying. I think they'd just dismantled Geelong and given someone else an absolute belting. And then just as the year went on, you sort of thought, well, they've had a couple of good games, but the drop off's got to come, and it didn't.
Yep.
I think their only losses in the end at the MCG ended up being to Geelong, who, pretty seasoned performers, and on the weekend against the Bulldogs. So, and to beat Brisbane to absolutely, they at one point down in Tassie against the Hawks, they were 90-something points up. And ended up winning the game by 45 or 50. So they've definitely defied all expectations, and they've also played some footy that is really entertaining.
Yep.
I can understand why their fans could be a bit frustrated, because when it's one of those things, when it goes wrong, and they tend to lose a game they're probably expected to win. But case in point, to my beloved Bombers. And yes, I will be buying the DVD of our win against them to replay alongside my 2000 Essendon Premiership DVD. I can't really go past Melbourne. You've already hit Carlton on the head. That's pretty remarkable what sort of happened there. Given that I picked Sydney to be a bit of a drop off, probably not quite as big of a surprise as the other two, but I didn't expect them to be as good as they are. However, having said that, the fact that the players that got them there, it sort of doesn't, you sort of go, oh yeah, well, I suppose those players are pretty good, and they're the ones that were the driving force behind their season up until they weren't. That for me, they're my main ones. And if I had a special mention, I'd almost go with North Melbourne, because at one point they were looking like they might be a similar story to Melbourne. They did drop off a bit. I think they got a pretty big belting by Fremantle. And again, they've taken a step, and I would have liked to see them take a bigger step. But I'd give them a special mention, Jim.
Yeah, I think so. Going back over our over-unders, which I'll get to in a second, like the Roos probably took more of a substantial step than we give them credit for, because I think we both had them around 6 or 7 wins or something like that. The over-under was still a little bit higher. It was 7.5. And I think, they end up with 9. So that's okay. But yeah, surprise-wise, like Freo dominating all year and looking awesome isn't actually that much of a surprise. I had them tabbed for 18 wins going into the season. They had 19, so it's not actually a giant surprise how good they were.
Yeah.
It's probably a bit more of a surprise just how dominant they were and just how good they were, to the point where it looked like they might lose like one game for the entire year until they, basically just put it into cruise control for the rest of the way. The disappointments are obvious for me. Gold Coast, my beloved Suns were just blah the entire year. It felt, after the 7th round or something, round 8, were they 6-2? And it was just after that, it all went to absolute hell. Because if I have a look, if I go back to round 10, Suns were 7-3. And I think they didn't win another game. They lost, 10, 12 straight or whatever it was. It was crazy.
It was 10 or 11 in a row, yeah.
Yeah, so 7-3. And then if you go around 20, they were 7-12. and then 7-13. It's just just gross.
Yep.
So yeah, not great.
Yeah, it's not good.
Petrarca started off great guns, and then it all just sort of went sideways for no one can figure out why. Ben King's piecing out, which is okay. You got Jed Walter and co there. But still, Ben King is a perennial Coleman contender. So I don't know. Dimmer is just sitting there going, I don't know, man. I've got a lot of money. I've got a lot of jet skis. I'm feeling pretty good about life. But yeah, still a disappointment. I had them. That's one of my 2 biggest over-under misses, which I'll get to in a second. But they're disappointing overall. And obviously St Kilda's the other one. Injuries sort of soured that, I guess, for them to a degree. But they lose Sinclair, Naz, they lose Sam Flanders, TDK is battling injured and all that sort of stuff. But it's just sort of the same old, same old. It's the Ross line. Here's a lot of excuses that aren't to do with my coaching. And I mean, the proof is always in the pudding with Ross, right? It's the same old story every single time. It's usually not his fault. Remarkably. But anyway, how about you, Jess?
Yep. Yeah, look, those two are obviously massive disappointments. I think the St Kilda one for me was always going to be a crapshoot. You never knew what you were going to get, and we sort of said that it could go this way. I suspected it would more than it wouldn't. So for me, it's not that surprising that they are where they are. And the Gold Coast, I did not see that drop off coming. However, in saying that, I do see how it happened, considering the type of player that they had to move on to get the big names in. They're sort of your glue kind of players that do all the little bits and bobs that you take for granted. So disappointing, probably not surprising when you look at it that way. St Kilda, I'm not really surprised at. But the one that I am disappointed in, and probably more so once they sort of played some really good footy at the end of the year in patches, was the Giants. Because they started off with a cracking win against the Hawks, and then I think it was the next week they got absolutely slapped by the Bulldogs. They've beaten Fremantle at a time when we thought that no one would ever beat Fremantle ever again. And then they managed to pump 14 goals in a quarter on the reigning premiers. And also, in the same month, lose to a team that had won one game in a year. And I don't understand. And now all of a sudden all their players want to leave. What do they just need to relocate them to anywhere but New South Wales, Jim? Because no one wants to stay there.
I think
nobody wants to be there, Jim.
I feel like they just need it.
Even Toby, who, he bleeds orange and black and white and whatever other colours they've got.
That's their problem. I think they need a rebrand. I think they just need a rebrand. 100%. They need a new name, new colour scheme. Just this one hasn't worked, I think. It hasn't captured the attention of anybody there. I think we can do better. And this is, how I feel about grey uniforms. GWS have like
I'm with you.
they've got the greyest of uniforms, right? Like basically out there, and it just inspires nothing. And I don't know. This is another year.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they should probably just save the orange and let the umpires have that and try and pinch the green back. You know, that fluoro-y type green seems to be, or lime if you want to call it that. But I don't know. It's a soulless. It seems to be a soulless club supporter base. You know, like they've got less members than Essendon have had days since they won a final. So, you know, that doesn't say a lot for a football club. I think there are country football teams that have probably got more members than what the Giants have got. So, you know, Tassie are coming in, and I think Tassie are going to quickly overtake them in the membership thing if their VFL side is anything to go by.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. They're sort of a bit stuck, the Giants, and I think you're right. I think a rebrand could do them the world of good. I also think they need to just give up on Western Sydney. Nobody gives a stuff about AFL out there. And I can tell you that I know a few people who live out there, and they don't care.
So I've got
they're born and bred Sydney people, and they do not give a stuff about AFL.
So behind me,
and we don't want them.
Behind me is a North Melbourne Giants Darryl McDonald jersey. The way to the hearts and minds is with that Hornets-esque teal pinstripe sort of kit, and I think if we can, or they're similar to the Miami Heat, sort of the Miami Vice thing, right? So
the Vice City, yep.
So when you go about redesigning it, it needs to be bold, it needs to be brash, and it needs to not be what the Giants have got now. Because even the name the Giants, I hate. Like, it's just so generic and just nothing, right? It's
the way to build, and this is where, and I don't know, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, but what the Suns have done, aside from the fact that they've been a disappointment on the field, their club, from all reports, is booming. They've built football in a region that is up for grabs to the point where it's almost, from what I understand, it's taken over rugby league, or at least competing with it quite well, depending on who you ask and who you talk to. So, but they hit the kids. They went into the schools and they pushed Auskick absolutely everywhere they possibly could. And from football in Queensland is killing it. I did see a couple of weeks ago there was an announcement that there'll be a Sydney Football League. So a tier below the VFL. I think it has 8 or 10 clubs. It'll be televised. The match of the week will be televised free on KO.
Nice.
So hopefully that has some, because what's the thing, aside from going to the AFL or the VFL back when we were youngins, is your local footy. It's awesome.
Yep.
You know, if you go down, you grew up in Ballarat, I grew up out in the Yarra Valley, I would jump on my bike and I'd ride up to Warburton and I'd watch whoever they were playing. I'd sneak in the back way along the river and the walking track so I didn't have to pay. But, and you'd go and you'd watch and you'd look at these guys, these massive guys when you're sort of, 7, 8 years old and go, wow, I want to, they're as good as the guys on TV. They weren't. But they, watching it live was always a bit of fun, especially when you had a couple of close rivalry teams. Like I think at the time, Warburton Yarra Junction, it always used to kick off in a big blue, which, that's another exciting part of country footy or local footy. So I think if they can build some sort of local grassroots thing and hit the kids, go after the kids. They're the ones that will build your club, because the parents will have no choice but to take them, because you know what kids are like when they want something.
Yep.
They can be very annoying.
They can be. Well said. Over-unders.
Sorry, carry on.
Over-unders, how did we go? Like, this is GWS is interesting. That was the biggest biggest discrepancy between us. You had more hope. I had them pegged for 10 wins. It's exactly what they had. Their over-under was 12.5. You had them at 15. So the 5-win difference is the biggest difference we've had between the two of us. So I was a bit more pessimistic about their season. You were a bit more optimistic, and obviously they go under. So out of all of them, though, the over-unders, going back through them, I think I only missed 6, and you missed, I want to say, it's a 9. So the ones that we missed, or that we differed on, Both of us went over on Adelaide. Both of us went over on Brisbane. Cha-ching. Carlton, we both went over because their over-under was 9.5. I went 14. You went 13. They ended up at 12, so they still go over. We disagreed on Collingwood. The over-under was 13.5. You went over with 16. I had under with 10. They ended up on 12, so I got at least the under, but you missed out on the over. You had the over for Essendon, which was 7.5. You had them at 8 wins. I had them at 6. They had 2. Woof. We both nailed Freo over. That was the over-under was 14.5. I had them at 18. You had 15. They win 19. The Cats, we both went under because it was 15.5. They ended up with 15. I had 14. You had 12. So they both go under. We both missed Gold Coast. It was 15.5. I had them at 18. That was my biggest miss because they only won 10. You had them at 16. GWS, as I mentioned, that was where we differed, the over-under. I had the under, you had the over. We both went over for Hawthorn. They do that. 14.5, they win 15. Very nice. Melbourne, we both went under. Ba-boom. 4.
I think everyone on the planet went under, Jim. I don't think anyone would have gone over.
8.5, we both had them at 4. They won 15 games, Jess. Jeez. Brutal. So that's our biggest miss.
Happy to be proven wrong, Jim.
North was 7.5. They actually won 9. So that's an over. We both went under at 6. Port was 9.5. We both went under. That's what happened. They end up with 7. Richmond, we both went under the 4.5. They actually won 3. And the Saints, we both went over. They went under. Ba-boom. That's a miss. Sydney, they won 18. I had them at 13. You had them at 8, which is your biggest miss. So, apart from Melbourne, of course, with the 11. But I think, yeah. So, Sydney, we both go under. West Coast, we both went under. They actually won 4. The 3.5 was their line. And the Dogs, actually, that was another one. Over, under. I went under 13. Yeah. That should be red for you. My bad. So, I think you missed another one. But anyway, so the difference were Collingwood and Essendon and GWS, you and I, and then Western Bulldogs, which I missed. So we differed on 4, and I got all of them right. Hey, bang.
Lucky there was no beers on the line.
So pretty crazy, yeah. I think what stands out there, Melbourne and Sydney, us being fair wax off. GWS, what do you reckon?
Yeah.
It all sort of makes sense, doesn't it, when you look at it?
Yeah, I think it's hard though, because I think I do remember saying that I thought it was either going to be Sydney or Collingwood that had, and I backed Collingwood. Collingwood didn't really have a drop-off, I don't think. And Sydney, for me, they obviously surprised, but at the same time, as I mentioned, when you look at the engine room that got them there, they all had really good years until they obviously, what's happened. And so when you have 5 of your 7 or 8 best players flying, there's a fair chance you're going to go pretty well, especially with the quality of what they have. The Melbourne one, it's still gets
crazy.
me. I think obviously with the Essendon one, I was being a bit optimistic, as you try to be. I feel like I called the Port one, although
you nailed the Port one, because that was how you were bang on, because you had them at 4.
And I had them as garbage all year, and I think they were, but I think they were probably a bit better than what their record showed. Obviously injuries hit and all that sort of stuff. But I thought they showed some that they could have been a better side. But I think obviously there's a new coach, bit of some key injuries, like losing Rosie early doesn't help. Butters missed a little bit of time early and then obviously late. Not sure how Horn Francis gets a gig in the AA squad when his start to the year was pretty ordinary, Jim.
Yep.
He obviously, showed out against some ordinary teams. But, it's they're an odd one. I'll be interested to see how their off-season goes, put it that way.
Yeah.
So, but otherwise, I think, it's so hard, isn't it? You sit there and you do the predictors and you go, oh, yeah, based on right now, they're going to give them a flogging, and then it turns out the other way. So I still think for me, the GWS one was probably the biggest unknown and the one that I probably struggled with at the start of the year and still struggle to understand where they're at as a club on the whole, as I mentioned previously.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens with them in the off-season too.
Not me, because I nailed it. 10 wins. They won 10.
Oh, righto.
I'm just great. I am absolutely in the zone with over-unders as well, because I'm doing the NFL ones currently.
Yeah.
And I'm over-undered out. Right. I think it's time for a bit of wild card.
Why aren't the brakes working? Because I cut the brakes! Wild card, bitches! Yeah!
What, Charlie?
That's got to be my favourite drop,
One of the greats.
especially when we're talking about the wild card round.
Wild card Friday. The Western Bulldogs are 1.5 point underdogs against the Collingwood Magpies.
Wow.
The Pies being favoured. I mean, it's sort of with so many injury clouds floating around about Norton and co, stuff like that. I guess I can see why the Pies are favourites. And you sort of think about them in these big games. They've proven it time and time again over the last, 4 or 5 years. And basically, the McRae era Pies have been basically defined by winning extremely close games time and time and time and time again. Wildcard, G on a Friday night. The sooking about, the Western Bulldogs should have a home final at Marvel. Shut up. I don't know. I'm still going back and forth. I think I want to take the Dogs. Jez, I think there's just like a little bit of something there. I worry about the G, however. I don't know. You saw them the other day. What do you reckon?
If they play the way they played against Melbourne, they're going to be very tough to beat. Having said that, if Collingwood get ahead in the fourth quarter, their 19th man will take over and the Collingwood chant will be... I hate it because it's Collingwood, but it's pretty awesome when you... Can't believe I'm saying this to you. It's actually pretty awesome to listen to if you can remove the fact that it's Collingwood and it's obviously being, chanted through 2, maybe 3 teeth at the best. So for me, I'm going to take Collingwood because they're big game players. I don't think they're going to do much damage in the finals, but I think they'll probably get this one out and it'll be a little bit of a see you later to a couple of stalwarts of their club. Obviously, Pendles will be breaking the record again this week, the following week, if he manages to get up and play. You got, old metal front bum, steel side bottom. And I think, was there another one that is potentially pulling the pin, or am I just making that up? I could be making it up.
Yeah, I think they're
Call me a
undecided.
journalist. It's probably realistically the end of the road for this Collingwood squad this year. And they'll have to rejuvenate on the run if they want to go. So I reckon they've got one more left in them, and I reckon it'll be this week.
I'm going to take the Dogs. I think there's just a little bit more there across the board. If Norton goes, if there's no Norton, I'd probably swing this back towards Collingwood. So this sort of depends on selection a little bit for me, because taking Norton out of that forward setup makes it just so much harder for them to score a winning, total against the Pies. So, even if he's hobbled, I can sort of see him helping out a little bit, but geez, it's a tough one. But I'm going to go the Dogs for the minute, pending Norton. I think they've won 2 of the last 3 against them. They actually beat them earlier this year, if you remember, a very, very good game back at the end of May at Marvel.
They do have traditionally good games, and I think they've played a bit in finals over the last 10, 15 years, and they always seem to be reasonably good games. It's funny, their engine room is very similar in that you've got your Bont and your Libba, which is sort of like your Pendles and your Sidey, and then you've got Ed Richards and the one who hasn't come on like they probably want him to, Fraser, in the middle there is sort of almost your Dacos and co. So they're a very similar team in the way they line up, and also with the amount of injuries that they're dealing with. So it's going to be an an interesting game, and I think it'll be a good one, Jim. I reckon 95,000 screaming toothless Collingwood fans and the 4,500 Bulldogs fans that are watching from outside will make it very entertaining.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. Should be a good one. Can't wait. And then Saturday. Oh boy, the Demons 5.5-point underdogs now to the Blues, and I have no idea what to make of this one either, because the Demons obviously pumped the Blues earlier this year after being down by 40 and turning around and just smashing them at the G. This will be a Saturday night though. They're down a few players. It's going to be pretty hard. I think Carlton can win this. I don't think they'll make it easy, but I think I'll still go Carlton. I think. I believe.
Well, I'm going to go the D's. Not because I'm trying to
troll,
be different. I actually think I am being different. No, I think the D's, Carlton, they've had a wild ride since May the 12th. And I think if they were to keep this close and lose, that's still a win for the Blues. And I think that still says they're on the right, it's a positive. It'll be obviously be disappointing if they lose, but I think as long as they don't get smashed, it's a win from a season that at one point looked like it was going to be Essendon-like in its finish. So for me, Melbourne have got more to lose here. Even though coming in, obviously we all didn't rate them, and then they've gone and shown. But the fact that they were pushing for top four, if they get to this point and lose to a team that has scraped in, I think that'll be a bit of bit more of a loss for them as far as in their overall season. So I think, whilst you're right, they do have a few out, but I think they can cover it. And I think they really play this year. They haven't really played two bad games in a row, and I think that probably goes in their favour in that you've got the definition of a wild card in Carlton, who could win by 50 or lose by 50 or anywhere in between. And the D's, I think, will probably win this by a couple of goals. So, and then, I think for them, that's a pass mark, is winning this week. I think if they don't, given what they've achieved so far, I think it might be a little bit of a failure. Whereas Carlton, I think anything other than a absolute smashing from go to woe is a win for them, a pass, I guess.
Yep. I get it. The thing is, I guess...
they are going to win the 26 flags, so, obviously I'll probably get that one wrong, but, yeah.
I think
just in case.
The tricky part is the Blues have played a bunch of games at Marvel. It's like the Freo game, Gold Coast, Brisbane, and the Dogs. So all those games have been at Marvel. So now they're at the G against Melbourne. It is going to be a bit of a weird one. If they can play the game on their terms, all right. This is more of a hope. I kind of feel like Melbourne probably have their number. I do worry.
The winner, if Carlton win, they get to go to Adelaide. If the D's win, they get to... Where do they get to go? They'll play...
I think it'd be Geelong, Carlton, Adelaide, whoever wins the other one.
Yep.
So, yeah. I don't know. This is the way the Blues... I mean,
interesting.
Carlton can't win the flag if they don't win the wildcard round and then smash their bunnies, Geelong, in the elimination final and, then go into a semi and keep it rolling. And
It'd be a very Josh Fraser thing to do.
It would be. I'm going to go the Blues, I believe. Go on.
Good on you, Jim.
I'm just worried about their lack of, games at the G of late. And when they have played there, I think it was like the Pies and the Hawks games with maybe the last couple, and they got killed in both. So that's not great. Anyway, there you go. So we've got different picks for both games. I've gone Dogs and Blues, and you've gone Pies and D's. So nice.
But as far as the matchups, Jim, I think we've got the perfect wildcard round because both teams are so evenly matched with similar types of issues as far as injuries and form and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I genuinely cannot confidently say that one team will beat the other in any, because you can go down a rabbit hole in your own mind of why Carlton would beat Melbourne, but also why. And yeah, if you were that way inclined, you could end up in a straitjacket trying to work it out. So I'm very excited for these two games, Jim.
Love it. And so Geelong plays the lowest rank wildcard winner, and Adelaide plays the highest ranked wildcard winner. So
Melbourne will be off to Adelaide if they win.
Yep. And
Carlton will face Geelong.
Carlton would face Geelong. And yeah, the Dogs, if they won.
So it's the other game, Collingwood and the Dogs that could go anywhere.
Flip.
Yep.
Nice.
Cool.
Slevo's Punters Club for wild card round last week. Managed to nail a couple, as I mentioned. Shannon Neal 4+. That was a big win. For me, Cozzy against the Blues. I don't know if they've got too much of an answer for him. 28-1 pretty easily for me. And Bailey Fritsch 2+, I would say as well. Again, those sort of mid-sized forwards like Fritsch, just a bit of a pain for the Blues. Yep. It is like the Blues not having to do with Van Rooyen is kind of handy, but at the same time, Harrison Petty will probably have a pretty fun time. Harry Dean and Wiedering up against him, though, so I feel like Fritsch is the beneficiary of that, and Cozzy will easily get one there. And this is like the problem, like Cozzy and Gawn are going to be absolutely awesome. Just, you can imagine him just toweling up Pitto. I have no idea what's going to happen in that ruck matchup. So, but I think Cozzy will have a really good one. 28-1 at the least, with Bailey Fritsch 2+ for me.
And the thing that goes in your favour there, Jim, is both of those players were not at their best last week. And again, they very rarely have two games in a row where they don't perform. And yeah, so I like that one, Jim. I'll probably throw a few shekels on that one.
Yep. And for you last week, you had Harry, Caddy, and Fogg combining for 10+. They did. Caddy kicked 6 himself. Harry had 3. Fogg, I think, had 4, I want to say. What was that? What did Fogg end up with in the end?
There's a lot of goals last week.
A lot of goals in that Adelaide
especially
game.
In that game.
Yeah, it was
that Adelaide game. I think there was like 3. Stringer kicked 6 too, didn't he?
Fogg got 3. Yep, and yeah, Stringer kicking 6 after no showing another game that I won't bring up again. But anyway, so what's yours for this week?
I am going to go with I haven't actually thought about this one, Jim. I'll be honest. I'm going to go with Dacos to get 35+. And I'm going to roll that into Harry McFive. I know it goes against my
Harry McFive.
I know it goes against my tip, but it might be the one week he kicks 5 in their last game of the year. So it
does feel like he
Nick
loves a G.
Harry.
Loves a G game, does Harry?
He
and
does.
Sort of the kicking
He hasn't done it all year.
The kicking has been pretty good under the roof, so we'll see how it goes with the G. There you go.
The other one that I would love to see extra time.
Extra time, nice.
Extra time would be sick.
You can probably actually pick that as well. Will there? Yes, no.
Well, we'll throw that in there as well. Extra time.
Jeez. All right, there you go. That is it for the show. The wildcard preview. Home and away is done. So, we'll be back again next week, obviously. Hopefully, a stoked Jim with his beloved Blues taking on the Cats in an elimination final on old mate's birthday, which would be pretty funny. God. Don't get stabbed, Jim. I'm going to try. But anyway, what a time to be alive. How good are these wildcard games? Finals footy is here. It's always the best time of year, isn't it? So make sure you're following us on the socials, etc. We'll have some end-of-year power rankings coming out very, very soon. Make sure you subscribe across all your podcast apps, your YouTube, like, star, subscribe, all that good stuff. You know what to do. It's 2026. You're not an idiot. And make sure you're just jumping on the YouTube as well and saying hello and hitting that little bell for notifications when the show goes up there. Anything else there, Jez, you want to throw out?
Well, footy's all done for me. Local footy, the boys are out. Unfortunately, Zak's team got done by 7 points and Luke's team lost by a point in the dying seconds of the game So elimination final. So the boys are done for the year. So we're quickly moving into cricket season. I've actually been running training for about a month now, but it's all turning into cricket, Jim. So but get around. As I said, get around local footy. If you can't get to one of the games, because there's this time of year and most of especially the senior footy, there's some really good football being played, and the crowds down there make it, the more the merrier. It makes it a good atmosphere. Even the VFL, the Mighty Bombers have managed to snag themselves a sixth place finish in the VFL, which is, again, that's another positive for us, Jim. I'll be watching along with that, and let's. I can't wait to see who we pick number one. No board spills, please.
Nice.
Awesome. Otherwise, I might have to take things into my own hands.
Go full Unabomber on Mark McVeigh. Right.
No.
On the board.
No. Yes.
on Herd. I don't know.
Come on, Jim, get it right.
Nice. All right.
Don't set me off.
All right. Until next week, stay off the rubbish gear. It's been Footy Unfilterated. We'll catch you next week when the Blues are heading into an elimination final.